Hello, and thank you for joining this session of the Tampa B2B Marketer brackets Pardot community group meeting. This is going to be covering a topic that I am a big fan of, using the tags function in Pardot. It's something that doesn't get a lot of love, is not often well understood, and has a lot of potential to kind of enable a lot of really cool strategic and kind of enable a lot of tactical things. There's also some pitfalls. There's some things that, if not paid attention to, if not managed, it can kind of become kind of an anchor in a bad way. So we have Laura here. She's going to be presenting. We've got this one here, and then we've got a couple other sessions coming up that I will put in the chat as well. And if you're watching or listening and you have a topic that you're particularly passionate about when it comes to Pardot, B2B marketing, Salesforce and B2B marketing, and so on, feel free to reach out. I'm always open to having guest presenters come and talk about things that they're passionate about. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Laura, and I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. So if there's questions that pop up, I may jump in and pose them. For those participants, feel free to put questions in the chat. Everyone is on mute, but I will do my best to try and ask questions as I see them. So take it away, Laura.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ben, and thank you for having me today. As Ben mentioned, my name is Laura, and I'm coming to you from Liverpool, England today. I've worked in account engagement and Salesforce for about 4.5 years now. Firstly at a consultancy with Mark Iles, and you can see Tom's on, so that's great. But for the last 2 years, I've been working in account engagement and Salesforce as an end user in the marketing team at KirkpatrickPrice. So it's safe to say, for the past 4 or so years, I have lived and breathed account engagement, and I know the tools, capabilities, bells and whistles. I love the Einstein features, so on. But it wasn't really until I moved into an end user role that I realized how important it is just to know the basic features, something that some people think is simple, like tags, just to do your day-to-day tasks as a marketer, and that the simple features actually help get the job done. So I'm really excited today to speak to you all about the benefits of tags and share some examples of how they've helped me and my marketing team. If it lets me click through. Perfect. So what are tags? Should I be using them, and are they important? So tags are essentially a label, and you can create tags, apply them to your assets and prospects. You can apply them from almost any table in account engagement, any prospect record, or from any automations and actions. And the key purpose of tags is to filter your data tables, your asset lists, label your prospects, label your assets, all with the purpose of quick finding, easier reporting, and easier updating. So I'm not going to start saying that tags are the ultimate feature in account engagement and should replace folders, lists, segmentation rules, and automations. It's more that tags are an important piece in account engagement to get full use out of the system, and without them, you're potentially making day-to-day tasks longer. You're restricting users being able to find things that they need and finding them efficiently. Apologies, it's been quite slow for me clicking through today. So how can tags make engagement better for marketers? Simply, it is by giving you that tool for easy filtering to get those data points quickly. Think about how many times a stakeholder or your boss may have asked, how many warm leads have we created this quarter? and you're on a call and you're trying to go through all your segmentation lists, but you have hundreds of those, or trying to find like the Salesforce report that you created like many moons ago. Tags are really going to simplify that for you and be able to get you that answer quickly. So you'll literally be on the call going, oh, this quarter we've created 160 warm leads, Tony. And this is because you can filter your main prospect table in account engagement by your tags, or you can even navigate to the tag itself in content tags and see all the tagged prospects, filter the view to active prospects, prospects not in Salesforce, and see all the tagged objects and assets. I personally like to use the tags alongside the filter view of like all prospects, filtering to unmailable prospects or active prospects or prospects not in Salesforce, and see how many of those have that particular tag that we've created. Especially with like seeing the unmailable prospects, I find that really helpful. So in this slide, I've just included some basic tags that I know I use: warm leads, hot leads, cold leads. And then 2 additional tags that have been beneficial for me are contacts and leads. So I have always found it quite frustrating that in the filter view on the prospect table, it says prospects not in Salesforce. And sometimes I want to know like how many of our prospects are contacts and how many are leads. So having those 2 tags have allowed me to filter the table. These tags do require a bit of automation to set up and maintain, because obviously you don't want a prospect tagged with lead and contact. So definitely throughout this presentation, I'll be touching on about using automation to manage your tags. But for now, I'm just going to go through some of the benefits of tagging. So the first one, a major benefit, is tags will help you keep a clean database. So you'll be able to keep on top of your database. I find it really beneficial to actually add the tag column in the main prospect table in account engagement. This gives insight into the data quickly. It gives you insight into, are you keeping on top of our tags? For example, if someone's tagged with warm lead and cold lead, it's really going to highlight that you need to do some spring cleaning and something's not working in your automation or your maintenance of tags. And then the next point on keeping your database clean is like, how many times have you been getting those emails from account engagement that you're hitting your maximum number of mailable prospects, and you need to start looking at your inactive mailable prospects or unengaged mailable prospects and starting to delete them? If you simply had a tag that said to be deleted, your marketers will be able to go through this table day to day and just keep on top of that. And then when it comes to doing a spring clean, you can use that tag in your rules of your lists to delete. So having them visible is just going to allow your marketers to keep it like front of mind that they need to keep on a clean database. Next benefit is finding assets easily. So typically there are a lot of people using account engagement, a lot of people on the marketing team creating assets, uploading assets into account engagement. And I don't know about you, but there is not many of those that stick to like a naming convention or a folder structure. Like, I wish it was everyone, but I know from my experience, especially if I'm in a bit of a rush, I'm not always putting things in the right folders. Especially if I'm creating a list, sometimes I will save it in the uncategorized folder by default. But by utilizing tags, you're going to be able to filter your folder view and find that content quickly. So rather than searching in the filter search bar when you go into your folders, you can simply just use the tags feature, click the tag that you're looking for, such as headshots, and it's going to show you every asset that is tagged with those. Another benefit is you can use to actually edit your user preference email notifications. Now, this will be done per user. You can't change it for others, but it is ideal more for sales reps who want to be notified of their prospects' activities daily. But say they don't want to be notified of customers' daily activities because they're already a customer. They just want to be notified of like normal warm leads. It could also be ideal for, say, a sales manager who wants to receive prospect activity for all prospects, but exclude, say, past customers or competitors or even employees who may be like on the website and doing certain activities that could trigger that notification. So you can edit your preferences here to exclude prospects by specific tags, and then they will not be included in your email alerts that you're getting. And what's nice here is you can use multiple tags. So if there's multiple groups that you want to exclude, you can just simply add them here. And finally, there are some additional benefits on tags that I felt like didn't need their own slide. So firstly, tagging on an import I have found so vital with us importing lots of data. This is going to help if you're ever looking to find those imported prospects after a certain period of time. So when you're doing the import, you can just simply add the tag here. It wouldn't need to be created as a tag first. So that's a really nice time-saving step. Another benefit is tags are completely customizable for your business. They have no limit, no restrictions. You can make them as long or as short as you like, which is just so great for keeping on top of what actually works for your business. Next, tags can be used in every feature of account engagement. So they can be used in folders, lists, automation rules, dynamic list criteria, engagement studios. So they're to be used alongside your processes and the main things that you use each day. And this one's a bit controversial, but I find tags make reporting easier. So not in Salesforce, but definitely in your account engagement reports and in B2BMA, which is what I'll be showing you further on in our presentation in my use case. But for now, we're just going to look at some considerations of using tags. So firstly, tags will not sync to Salesforce, hence why we can't use them in Salesforce reports. Applying tags can take up to 10 minutes or so, especially if you're tagging many prospects or say like a large amount of assets in one go. You will receive an alert once the tag has been applied, and that'll just be sent to your email. Tags cannot include single or double quotes, and tags cannot replace like lists, segmentation rules. Again, they're supposed to be used alongside, but just wanted to highlight that like you couldn't send a list email to a tag. It would have to use that tag on a dynamic list in order to send the and the final consideration is exporting tags does require a workaround. So you would use the prospect table and edit their visible columns to include tags and then perform an export that way. I found that beneficial when we're just trying to keep on top of our different segments. But now that we've got that out of the way, I am going to show you how you can apply tags with automation. So I've personally found it very beneficial utilizing tags in existing automation rules. It definitely removes a manual process of tagging and keeping on top of tagging daily. And in this example that I've included, it's showing how you can apply tags in your grading automation rules. So the purpose of applying a tag in your grading automation rule is so you'd be able to filter profiles on the main prospect table. So in that view, you can't edit the prospect table to view specific profiles, and it's not actually a column available for you to add in the prospect table. So whilst you can add grade, and I do believe like grade is very, very helpful, if you have multiple profiles, seeing the grade without the profile can be a little bit confusing. Especially like if you've got multiple and you're thinking this person's a D, but we don't know what profile they're on. So having that tag will allow you to filter by the profiles and then have the column of the grades. So simply just adding one additional action, apply tags, and then the tags that I want to add will allow me to filter that table and give me that data much quicker. Then if you're applying tags via, it is great and vital that you remember to also use automation to remove those tags. So you want to keep your prospects clean, up to date, remove irrelevant tags easily without having a manual process. This is because you could end up with prospects being tagged with opposing tags, especially if their data has changed throughout time. So this is where you'd benefit from using the action remove tags, and you can do this in your engagement studio programs just by adding an additional action step or in your automation rules. I found it personally more beneficial utilizing my existing automation rules and just simply adding remove tags. And that is because of obviously the maximum allowed automation rules we have in our org. And just by adding that, it's not really going to affect if they aren't tagged with that. It's just going to ensure the ones who are tagged do have it removed. So in this example, someone may match it because their annual revenue is now greater. So I want to make sure that they're only tagged with annual revenue is a strong match rather than annual revenue is a weak match.
Hey, Laura, I want to have a question. So this is something that is like the removal of tags is something that is often for those organizations that use them, they get told, oh, tags are great, you should use them. They start using them, and then they just never stop using them, and they never go back and say, okay, we should probably not use some of these tags now. I mean, I've seen orgs where they'd have where one prospect would have 40 different tags, and some of them have been there for 3 years or longer. And at a certain point, the tags kind of lose their value. Like, I guess, what's your philosophy on because in my mind, I think there's two types of tags. There's the situational, in the moment, I need these people to do this thing. And then that's more kind of time sensitive or kind of like project driven. And then there's ones that are more evergreen, that are more about building a profile or having these categories that instead of having a custom field, which can get very clogged and you can end up having huge page layouts, they become like what you're saying here, where it's like, if they match this criteria, then this is a category that they should have. How do you, I guess in your experience, how have you seen those two used, or I guess have you seen those two different ideas or philosophies used kind of in tandem? And what do you recommend if somebody's wanting to go into tags, obviously if you see it here in an engagement studio where you're like removing a tag, but I mean, automation rules and all these different automation pieces, what's your approach to kind of being intentional with tags and deleting them when they don't need to be used anymore? Like, how have you approached that?
That's such a great question. I definitely, from my experience, have come into an org and seen like 300, as you say, tags, and I have no idea what they mean, where they're used, or anything. I found it quite difficult just going into the tags itself and seeing the large amount there and trying to work out whether we need to keep it or not, which is definitely why I use them in automation. I feel like consultants looking at orgs or even like marketers reviewing their orgs quarterly will be more likely to check their automations and seeing like, is this program working? Are these steps relevant anymore? Is that tag useful? Reviewing their automation rules, like especially with all the actions of like changing profile criteria, you then will be checking, oh, it also says apply this tag, is that still relevant? So I think using them in the automation allows you to keep track of it better than just going into the tags section and being overwhelmed by the naming conventions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's one thing like what I was thinking about, because I know that in some areas of Pardot, if you delete something, it'll throw an error and saying, sorry, this is being used in something. I don't remember if when you click in, when you open up a tag, I don't remember if it will give you a table at the bottom that says used in, and like it'll show like this automation rule, this engagement studio, this form. So I know that some things it does. Some things it'll say like this form is being used in this and that and whatever. I don't remember if it does the same thing for an individual tag.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
If anyone on the phone knows, let us know.
It definitely says like if it's a tagged object, but I don't think it just doesn't have on the system, like when you open a tag, like, oh, this is used in this.
Yeah, because I mean, that would obviously be very helpful.
Yeah.
But when you're looking to like try and delete tags, I mean, it's kind of annoying, but you could, in theory, just like delete, and if it errors out, you say, okay, I can't delete that one. Just delete everything that's not going to error out. Or another way is to like go and start. At least I usually go from what's the oldest tag, and then start trying to delete them. And if I get errors, I say, okay, there's something tagged to that. There's something related to that. It's kind of reckless a little bit to just do it that way, but if you're not given a roadmap or some kind of process of like here's how these different tags are used, then you got to delete them. Because I mean, ultimately, tags are meant to be, in my perspective, is that tags are only as valuable as you make them, and if you just willy-nilly start creating tags, because you can like you can just create all kinds of, you can have 4 different spellings of the same thing as a tag. And nothing will like stop you. You'll just create tags, and suddenly you've got MQL, then you got marketing qualified lead, then you've got lead for sales. Like all those things mean the same thing. Like, so having some, like, the admin, it's tedious, but being able to, in my point of view, and I'm curious to hear yours, but like having some kind of process of like, here are the tags that we use. When you start typing, it will start. I think when you start typing, it will show you the matching tag.
Drop down. Yeah.
So having the naming convention, like these are the tags we use for these things, and making it so that only like, I think you can set permissions on who can use tags. But if you're gonna like use tags, it is in your best interest to try and create some naming conventions, some standards, and only use those. don't start. I mean, if you add them, then it has to be like very clearly, why are you adding this and what is it for? But that's my point of view. I'm curious to hear yours.
I completely agree on that. I wish there was also a way you could add like a description when you create the tag to say what it's for. I always think that would be very nice. Like, I know from like our marketing team, we kind of came in at KirkpatrickPrice into a lot of tags that have been there since the beginning of time, it felt. And if we just simply had a description, that would have changed it for us. We then have to put everything into a spreadsheet. So definitely if you're starting tags, I would say the more detail in the naming convention of the tag, the better. So like in this example, annual revenue week match, it should just be very clear to everyone using Pardot what you determine a week match in your segments. Or even just if you don't have that, maybe just highlighting like annual revenue less than, and then the number as well. But towards the end of the presentation, I do have some considerations and some kind of best practices that I know like really helped our marketing team as well, just on naming conventions. But yeah, making sure you use automation to remove tags will hopefully help your team not be going into tags thinking, what is that one for? What was the purpose? This was also another way that we've been able to use automation to remove tags. I love conditional logic. I think it is such a great add-on feature. So in this example, say you had like a high intent form, and you knew there was a chance someone who had been previously tagged low intent could have submitted it. Maybe you sent them an email and your CTA was to that form. So here you could have the logic to remove that tag and then assign them to a queue or a follow-up action that you wanted to happen, and maybe alert their sales owner. And then also I apply the new tag as well to everyone, regardless whether they're low intent or not. This definitely does take a little bit of time creating these added steps, and you really have to think about your full process, but it is going to ensure that your data remains clean and help you in the long run. I'd now like to just show you a use of how I feel like tags really benefit reporting, especially in B2BMA. So I'll be touching on throughout this use case about Engagement Studio reporting in B2BMA. Personally, I love B2BMA. I've always enjoyed showing clients it when I was consulting. And I learned very quickly that like marketers do not always have time to build custom dashboards and start messing with data sources, which is where tags really became a useful workaround that I enjoyed showing clients, and I know I use like day to day. So in this example of the standard pipeline dashboard that you get in the B2BMA app, the tag filter is already added by default, and it uses the account engagement tag dataset. So in that dataset, each row represents a unique assigned tag. So you can just filter by tags. So in this screenshot of like dummy data, these prospects in the lifecycle snapshot shows their tags downloaded any white paper, newsletter subscriber, and we can see the amount of prospects and then the amount of MQLs that have that tag to them. The key thing to remember here is when you're using the Pardot tag filter in this pipeline dashboard, is it's only going to show those active tags. So if you have deleted any tags and they're in your recycle bin, they're not going to show in this filter drop down. So that's another thing to remember if you are deleting tags. Second use case I want to show is if your marketers do have time to build custom dashboards, or you are a consultant and you're building custom dashboards for clients. I've always found it quite annoying that in the B2BMA app, it is quite difficult to report on engagement studios, especially seeing where like people have ended in their journey or how many have actually finished the whole engagement studio and essentially ran through your whole campaign. So this is really where I've utilized the comparison dashboard and tags. So the first thing to remember before like building a dashboard like this is that you have tagged correctly in your Engagement Studio programs. So at the very start of the program, you would want to include a tag that says, you'd want to include like an action at the very start where you would normally do like add to campaign, also add in apply tag, and the tag name would be began Engagement Studio and then the name of it, or began campaign, something that will make sense to you that this is how they've entered it. And then at the very last step before your end, you want to add finished Engagement Studio name as a tag as well. So this will just be if someone is tagged with both, you know they've successfully run through your whole Engagement Studio. Once you've obviously got them tagged, you will be then able to build a custom B2BMA dashboard. So the best way that I did this was I actually used the comparison template. I find that really, really helpful, just the way it's already formatted, and I just need to go into the widgets and update the queries. So once you've clicked create dashboard, choose dashboard from template and choose comparison dashboard, the number queries will already be there, and you'll be able to click into them and then select account engagement prospects as your data source. That will then open your query. What you'll do is you'll go under the filters, click the plus sign, and then select the tag dimension. So the first one you want to do is how many people successfully completed the Engagement Studio program. So your tag will be operator equals began Engagement Studio and also finished Engagement Studio. You'll then click apply and click done on your query to save it. And then that number displayed will show how many people have successfully completed that Engagement Studio. You'll then want to repeat those steps, but this time have operator for your tags equals began engagement studio, click apply, add another filter, which is operator does not equal finished engagement studio. Click apply and click done. And then this is then going to show you how many people haven't finished yet or may have dropped off, and you'll be able to look into them. So this will just be a nice way of getting that data really quickly in a dashboard that you can share with stakeholders, colleagues, or like sales team as well, and seeing like maybe if there's like an area you need to look at in your campaign journey, like why are people not finishing a certain engagement program over another one, and so on. And then finally, I would just like to round up with some like beneficial tips, I hope, about how you could implement tagging today in your account engagement assistance, or even what to recommend to clients. So like as Ben was saying, like keeping track of tagging is so important. I've definitely found having them in a spreadsheet really helps our marketing team, especially if there were a lot of tags already created and you don't know which ones to keep. Just keeping record of those and then seeing which ones you can merge. Sorry, a question just came through. I think it was from Tom. Once you've got your spreadsheet, I definitely found it beneficial, like speaking to our like Pardot users, sales users, and stakeholders, and identifying like what our problem areas are, like what are the data we want to know, and then seeing which tags are relevant. Once we know that, you then know, okay, I need to put this one in an automation rule, or I need to remove this one, it's not relevant to us. So definitely keeping track of them and incorporating some sort of naming convention that works for you. And then here are some tips on the way like you could tag your assets and even like your prospects as well. It's really cool that you can use multiple tags. So you don't have to create an individual one for like who created it. You could incorporate that with the type of campaign. You wouldn't have to have like an individual one if that's not going to work for you guys. So some tips are like who created it, when it was created, year, month, quarter, if that is going to be applicable, and if that also works on you keeping track of when you need to delete that tag. The type of campaign, was it to do with acquisition, upsell, any applicable products? Also the type of event is very beneficial to know if like these prospects came from a trade show, but maybe they'd got a completely different campaign source. You know, just having that tag will allow you to quickly use them in lists and filter through them. A tag for like internal operational processes, such as like who's in charge of it. Maybe it's the developers or sales or administration. File types, tagging your file types, whether it's like PDFs, white papers, website content, you know, really beneficial if you're keeping track of like what relevant content you're actually using on your site or in your assets, but also taking up a bit of storage in Pardot. Just tagging it that way, you'll be able to filter through and see if there's any that you can delete. Finally, list categories I have found very useful. Tagging things such as suppression, imports, to delete, just allows you to keep on track of like a really healthy database, and using those tags in your lists in automation. It's just really going to benefit you in simplifying Pardot for users. We want to make it as easy for all marketers who haven't been in Pardot very long. Like using those tags will get them able to do their day-to-day tasks. So yeah, thank you so much for letting me present tags. If anyone does have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those, but I'll pass back to Ben.
This was great. Thank you so much for sharing. This was a lot of really good information, and yeah, tags are not kind of an underappreciated feature that's not always super well understood. So you definitely did quite a bit here and shared a lot of detail. I don't see any more questions in the chat, so If there are not any, then we will give you guys back some time. I am going to put the upcoming meetings in the chat real quick here. We've got a couple coming up on the 27th for this is interesting. It's this guy Mark has gone on a kind of a bit of a tangent. He's 22 Salesforce certs this year. Yeah, he's just decided that is his challenge. So he's got 24, 22 of which happened in 2024. Like big ones too, like B2B solutions architect, like all like heavy ones, not just like the smaller associate ones. So that's on the 27th. And then on the 11th, we have a workshop diving into customizable campaign influence in Pardot and Salesforce. So I put both those links there in the chat. Feel free to register for those. And like I said at the top, if you have something you want to talk about, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn or email. And Laura, you're welcome to come back anytime you want. This was great. Appreciate it. This is your second time doing this, right?
Yeah, second
time.
Thank you so much for having me back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're welcome as anytime you want. You're always have really interesting things to say and to share. So I appreciate you taking the time to do this. And yeah, like I said, the recordings will be up on YouTube, Pardot Geeks blog. I'll put it up on LinkedIn, and Laura can also utilize it however she wants as well. So thank you guys very much, and I hope to see you at the next one on the 27th. So with that, have a good rest of your day, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.